Hello, everyone. We're just going to give it a couple minutes for everyone to join the event. You can just give us a couple minutes. Thank you. Denise, you can go ahead and begin.
Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest event in our CRAVE series, The Future of Food at Work. My name is Denise P.A. I am a vice president at STV. I'm also a proud member of the Cornet Board of Directors and the co-chair of our Leadership 2.0 program. I'm going to take a few minutes to run through our chapter announcements, and then I'll hand over to our moderator, Sarah Ross. So you'll see that we still have a busy season coming up in 2021 for CRAVE webinars. On January 12th, we have our workplace technology strategies and the flow of business. Should I stay or should I go? Very timely topic. And on January 20th, we have a virtual connection to the Cornet New England community for our sponsors and membership. So we look forward to seeing you sign up for those events, and please join us. Of course, our chapter is very engaged in social media. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Please check out our posts and feel free to comment and like. And if you have any firm announcements that you'd like us to put out there for you, please reach out to Stephen Smith, our social media liaison. And this year, more than ever, we're thanking our sponsors, our corporate partners, our platinum level sponsors, gold sponsors, and silver sponsors. Thank you very much for your commitment. We do have a Q&A function. You'll see that. Please use the Q&A box to send along your questions during the program. We will be doing a Q&A at the end of the event. And I also wanted to note that this program will have 3 polling questions. You'll see those go live in another minute, so please answer those for us. And I'm going to hand off now to our moderator, Sarah Ross, who is an associate principal and director of corporate services studio at Dyer Brown. Sarah, take it away.
Thanks, Denise. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the Future of Food at Work discussion. As our industry reimagines the future workplace, we see a refocus on employee benefits and a strong connection with socialization as being one of the top reasons why employees want to come back to the office. So through our panel today, we will discuss what role will food play in bringing folks back to the office, as well as how will the workplace need to respond. I'm going to introduce the panelists now. Our first panelist is Matt Mayerhoffer. He is infrastructure and sustainability engineer at Tripadvisor. Matt joined Tripadvisor's office experience team as a mechanical systems engineer in 2016. He's responsible for design, O&M, and performance of MEP systems. Gretchen Fisher, she is Managing Director of Corporate Real Estate at Manulife. Gretchen is responsible for property and facilities management services for the corporate real estate portfolio in the US and in Europe. She focuses on providing a safe, comfortable, efficient, and productive work environment for Manulife John Hancock employees and building tenants. Next, we have Steve O'Brien. He's Vice President at Fuda. And as most of you know, Fuda is a Chicago-based technology company that helps local restaurants sell lunch to professionals at work. Steve is also a professionally trained executive chef and owner of Burger Belly in Chicago. And then we have Karen Bala, who is the Director of Design at Dyer Brown. Karen is an architect and a thought leader. By mixing high and low tech design elements and a passion for deeply understanding each end user, Karen successfully creates environments for clients that are comfortable, dynamic, and productive. Okay, so before Matt kicks off the discussion, we're going to go through the polling question results. So the first question, okay. What is your organization's biggest challenge related to food service when returning to the workplace? And it looks like overwhelmingly safety and facility protocols was the top answer, along with lack of employee engagement and culture. So both of these things actually the panelists will be talking about and discussing today. The next one, question 2, what is your organization's main business driver in your approach to food at work? So again, creating a sense of community and connection to culture. Repeat response from question 1 as well. So this is great to see as we all are really looking for folks and create those connections with folks as we come back to the office. And then I would say that second, an increase in employee satisfaction and performance, as well as attracting and retaining talent were the top responses. And then the last question for right now, what food services does your organization offer? And we definitely have a mix, which is what we were looking for and wondering from the participants in the audience today. Private employee cafeteria was number 1, but as well as some micro markets, grab and goes, self-serve, and building managed cafeterias as well. So thank you so much for participating in that poll. There actually will be one more poll question later on in the program, but I'm gonna kick it off to Matt to actually start off the discussion and talk about the food service program at Tripadvisor and its role it plays there as well. So Matt.
Awesome, thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate the intro. Yeah, so again, Matthew Mayerhoffer, kind of have a dynamic role with Tripadvisor, even though I manage our HVAC systems and our sustainability program. Our team, the office experience team, manages the experience for all of our employees. And obviously the food component is a major piece of that experience. So at our global headquarters, we have a full commercial kitchen. We operate a breakfast and lunch schedule that ranges from steel cut oats to fruit to yogurt for breakfast, and at lunch is variable to say the least. We are constantly changing our food programs to keep people interested in what's going on to share what all the cultures that we have in our office and provide cultural-based food. There's also coffee and water-based programs, bulk snack programs throughout the whole, throughout the entire office. You know, the big question I think is why would a company, or why did we want to roll out a massive food program like this? And the real answer for that is that we are a suburban location, right? We are not downtown. We are up in Needham, Massachusetts. You know, we're 3 miles in any one direction from, you know, your nearest, you know, real food source or food options. So we did this because, you know, we didn't want to have our people being away from the office for too long. The idea of going out to lunch and everybody else out in Needham having to go to those same restaurants would just take time, minutes, hours maybe out of the day. And we ultimately wanted to meet the goals of providing a healthy workplace. We have the fitness center and we have flexible space and we have outdoor space, but without the food component, we felt that would be a major miss when it came to the healthy workplace. And then as Sarah mentioned earlier, there's always an attract the greatest talent component, right? Because everybody else, all the bigger companies, tech companies, they offer the same food programs or similar concepts. For us, the benefit of the program, or what we'll like to use internally, is called, we call it our return on experience. I think there's a return on experience from the employer where, again, the employees are here, they are in the building, they are reachable if there's a worst case scenario or something pops up, or there's in-office collaboration that can happen. But for the employees, I'm speaking on behalf of myself as an employee working at Tripadvisor. You know, it's awesome to know that the company believes in my health and well-being. Makes me feel really good to show up every day knowing I have great food resources, great quality food I can eat. Yes, I can have a pizza, right? But yeah, I can also have a great salad filled with, you know, healthy protein and grains. I think sometimes we offer a greater food quality than maybe would even be provided at home. So we might be providing options to people or to employees that they just can't have elsewhere. We operate, the other piece of the return on the experience is we have we call it Food at Trip. It's an internal review system where employees get to tell us their thoughts. They get to tell us what they liked and didn't like. And so we're constantly taking that feedback and analyzing it and figuring out what's not working and changing it to try something new. So we're constantly adapting to the needs of our employees. And before we roll out, say, seasonal food programs, we found it very helpful to have peer review groups where our cafeteria management company would bring in 10 different style meals or food types or different ethnic-based foods and ask 20 or so people in a conference room to try them and give us their impact. So we're constantly trying to adapt to all of our employees and to satisfy all of them in every way that they can. Another major benefit, as I walk through the cafeteria, there's a buzz going on. There's this buzz of camaraderie, this buzz of communication going on. So whether it's personal, hey, how was your weekend? Or, hey, when are we gonna be done with that code? Or whatever it may be, there's just this energy lift in the office at all times. Our CEO will sit there and say, everybody eats at some point in the day. You can always find me in the cafeteria. You know, he's always going to be there. You can grab me for a quick minute when we're grabbing a coffee. So it promotes collaboration. It promotes communication. It promotes that inner feeling of appreciation, I believe. Another major benefit for the employees, if you think of the idea of the suburban office, if it would take me 20 minutes to go out to the restaurant, sit down for an hour, 20 minutes home, that's an hour and 40 minutes in my day that I wasn't completing my job. So is my day now a 9-hour and 40-minute day versus an 8.5-hour day if I had food in the office and I could sit down for a solid, healthy half an hour? You don't have to worry about the parking elsewhere, getting back in your car. So a lot of benefits that way. I I think it was also just an inspiration for employees. I like the acronym WIIFM. What's in it for me? And for the employees, we give them this just general feeling that we support them. We want them to be prosperous. We're giving them brain food, right? Food to be able to make their day healthier, make their thoughts healthier, feel stronger, more energetic. And then we had COVID, right? Then COVID showed up, and what a bummer. Haven't been in the office in 9 months, almost to the date, 9 months tomorrow. So in the short term, what we're looking at doing when we do return, we are looking at, a subsidized food program. So to take half a step back, this was a full employee benefit, zero cost to the employee previously. Moving forward, because of the lack of understanding of how many people will be around, who will be showing up, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to just provide this massive food program with to the level we did before. So we're looking at a subsidized food program. And this is important because it also going to maintain the financial integrity of the company. I think that was a really important element as to why we shifted. There would be overall less group seating. We have reduced and removed a lot of tables. We have installed PETG separation panels on the tables that remain so that you can still have this one-on-one connection with someone that you want to have lunch with, but have that extra feeling of protection. One of our biggest goals with COVID is to reduce the fear factor associated with being inside with other people and in a cafeteria environment where there are a lot of people. We've implemented an order to eat program. So you can place an order via our communication system to the chef, to the team down in the cafeteria, and they will let you know when that is going to be ready so that you don't have to stand with the other 50, 100, 300 people in the office. You can come down right when it's ready, pick it up, walk right back upstairs. So minimize your interaction with everybody or crossing paths with everybody if that's how that brings you comfort. Overall, we're not going to be providing, unfortunately, any more bulk food options. We're going to have to go back to single-use type cups and plates and silverware, which hurts the sustainability corner of my heart, but it is a real piece. And I think, again, to minimize the fear factor, it's important that we step away from this idea that somebody else could have been touching or had interacted with something that I could now touch. So in the long term, one of the other pieces, we do offer bevy machines and water distribution or water machines through the space. There will be options for touchless options via an app on your phone. The other option, you can touch the panels, you can use the touch screens. And our biggest goal in the short term is educating and reminding everyone that we're all in this together. So this is a clean, use, clean kind of concept, right? Clean it before you touch it, touch what you need, and then clean it again so the next person is safe from anything that you may have run into. In the long term, unknown, right? We're really not 100% sure. And I think we're going to play it by ear. The vaccine and this approval of the vaccine was this really like bright light at the end of the tunnel. But I don't think we've defined how long that tunnel is yet. So we're still waiting. So I don't have a clear plan. But one maybe really cool idea, I think, for people who do have, or companies who do have a cafeteria space is how can we, again, keep our people safer? So maybe we repurpose some space for small kind of retail kind of area. Are there a little shop or a supply space that you could provide so when the employee comes to work, they can go to work, they can eat, but they can also grab the diapers for their kids. They could also grab a box of waters to bring home or whatever, maybe just some basic supplies to minimize the amount of time they have to, or number of times they have to go out into public and re-expose themselves to the general public. I think that's, the long term, again, is still a little unknown, but we're super excited. The food program will come back at some point. We're full believers in it as a whole. And I truly appreciate the opportunity to chat with everybody today.
Thank you, Matt. And then just really quickly, can you also just quickly tell everybody when, right now in the crystal ball, you think employees might be starting to go back to Tripadvisor and possibly using the cafeteria?
Yeah, so it varies around the world, but our headquarters, I don't think we're really looking at, as of the last I knew, we're looking to go back at the end of Q2 in that June-ish to July range. And again, that may adapt with the vaccine going out, but Q2, end of Q2 is a real early target, I think, that we would probably hit.
Great, thank you. So we are actually going to switch gears a little bit and actually talk about Gretchen and Manulife's cafeteria, as well as kind of the flip side of what Matt just talked about being in a suburban setting. Obviously, Manulife is downtown Boston and in an urban setting. So Gretchen, if you would like to talk to us about your experiences right now and in that urban setting.
Sure, thank you, Sarah. And thank you, Matt, for providing the perfect context, which is you are in a suburban location and your people have limited options. So I guess I need to answer the first obvious question, which is we're in the Back Bay, which is an urban location with arguably some of the best dining in the Boston area. And in order to answer that question, I really need to take you back to where Manulife and John Hancock were in 2004. And in 2004, the company made the decision to venture into the Seaport District, and its headquarters was in that Seaport District from 2004 to 2018. And at that time, if you ever parked in the flats there, you knew there were not many food options. So a cafeteria was a must-have in that location. And as we moved back into our old headquarters at Clarendon and Berkeley Street, we had a small cafeteria, but it certainly wasn't anything like the one at 601 Congress Street. So, you know, when we moved back in 2018, we did a lot of employee surveys, you know, how did the move go? And, you know, what do you miss about the old place? And what would you like to see? And overwhelmingly, there was a desire to have some type of a eating cafeteria place where people could gather and meet with their colleagues and have some kind of outside of work interaction. So, but yet within work. So that set the stage for us really thinking about, well, how could we provide it in a you know, a building that we've got, one is 6 stories, the other one is 26 stories, and we occupy in the Berkeley building, which is where our cafeteria ultimately was developed. Our occupancies are on the 2nd through the 8th floor, but there was an unfinished floor on the 16th, which had and still has 15-foot high ceilings and phenomenal views of the Charles and phenomenal views of the South Boston greenery area. And as we spoke with our executives in the John Hancock headquarters, they really wanted to have a place where people could have those interactions that would mirror the collaboration that took place in our old Seaport location. And at Manulife and John Hancock, culture is a critically important piece of why people love working there. And it really drives our yeah, I guess, obsession with pleasing our customers and providing best in class of everything. So we wanted to match that for our employees. And if I can just draw a picture for you, when you come up to the 16th floor, the elevators open and there's a collage of lights. It's very, very well lit. You almost feel like you're in an outer space type of experience. And then as you walk around the corridor, which is a courtyard shaped with the elevator in the middle, there's 4 main areas. And one area is where our food stations are. And there's 3 different food service areas. There's a salad bar. So that's the food piece of it. But there's also soft seating where people can go and get a cup of coffee and you know, have some quiet time or maybe meet quietly with a colleague. And then there's also a gaming area where we have like ping pong and games and video gaming as well. And it's the decor there is unlike where the office is, so that our employees, when they go up there, they feel like they're not in the office. They're really in a place of respite. So that is really what it looks like. And, you know, as we were looking to a food provider, one of the critical things that we wanted to have is some variety for our employees. And, you know, in a typical cafeteria, you've kind of got your same stations and they're there all the time. And what the vendor we ultimately selected, Fuda, Steve, who's on this call, and my partner in crime here, but Fuda's got just a fantastic concept of 3 prongs that are huge value to us. One is it's providing rotating businesses in there, pop-ups, we'll call them. So there's either 1, 2, or 3 pop-ups at any one time, and they're from the local community. So we are helping those businesses that, you know, otherwise may have our employees coming to them, but we're bringing them into a captive audience in our space. And they rotate out, so it's providing our employees with a variety of different ethnicities and diversity. And, you know, the diversity, equity, and inclusion is also a very strong piece of our culture and what we're valuing. So having diversity in food really aligns well with that. So variety, supporting the local area. And from an economics perspective, it provides scaling. So in the summer months when there's not so much demand, we may have just 1 pop-up station up there. So those were really key factors for us with Fuda. And, you know, Steve, I don't know if you want to jump in, if there's anything that you have to you know, food relationship was before we built the cafeteria. But I'll just close out by saying that our return to office regarding food is going to look a little different. You know, Manulife and John Hancock is a very digitally focused forward company. And whenever we can leverage technology, we're going to do it. So everyone will have the ability to download the app for our cafeteria and order their food. And in order to minimize movement during the initial phases of return to office, when there's still safety protocols and what have you in place, we want to minimize the movement. So people will be ordering, and then they will have a designated pickup place in one of the floors where they'll pick up their food at a time. And so our provider, Fuda, will be delivering those orders down there. So although the cafeteria itself our plan is to wait to have our employees coming up there, the food will come to the employees. And so that's really what I have to describe our Manulife John Hancock brand new cafeteria, just yet to be seen by our employees. So you guys get the first sneak peek. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Sarah, because I think you wanted to do another poll.
Yes, thank you, Gretchen. Like you said, I was just thinking that you and all the employees are in a very unique situation where, like you said, the cafeteria was completed, but yet no one had even a chance to see it, let alone use it. So you'll have definitely an interesting experience going into 2021 for sure. So yes, our last polling question, if everyone can take a moment to participate in this question. We're starting to move a little bit into some future thoughts as far as, you know, food goes in the workplace. So whenever the results are up, I can share those with everyone. Great, thank you, Debbie. So where do we see the biggest opportunity to support the future of food at work? And the #1 response was technology advancements and integration. So this is great and perfect for the next segment of our conversation, as well as a close second was refreshed sense of culture and community. And then also thirdly, cleaning and safety and wellness programs and focus on well-being. So Steve, I want to bring you into the conversation, a couple of points, like Gretchen has said. So obviously, Fuda partnered with Manulife. So if there is any additional, you know, insights you'd obviously want to share with the audience today on your experiences with their corporation, that would be great. As well as, obviously, you see many, many different organizations. So if you can also touch on for everybody, you know, what you're seeing from your other clients as well.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, Gretchen. I'll first talk about our relationship with John Hancock, Manulife. In particular, where we began our relationship is we were doing our pop-up restaurant program in their lobby space while they had a cafe, and seeing tremendous participation on that program. So from there, we've moved up to building the cafe and launching another cafe as well in the building. The one thing I'd like to point out is Gretchen and her team were very forward thinking when they designed their cafe. So prior to COVID, they built a cafe environment where folks are spread out throughout the area. So we have multiple pop-up restaurants happening in different spaces throughout the cafe environment. So it's not all coming into one area, going to the salad bar, going to the deli, then having to check out through a main checkout area. Instead, it's multiple areas, multiple checkout points, and you could spread yourself out throughout the space. From there, I believe the most critical point during COVID is we all have to be nimble and flexible at this moment, because I believe Matt said it right. We have to reduce the fear factor, and there's a lot of unknowns each and every month. And when I look at our overall client business, it depends on what region you're in and what month you're in on where the fear factor is and how people are feeling about COVID at that moment in time. But in particular, with Gretchen and her team, I love what we did and what we're putting together as we're launching from our phases in COVID. So we have a self-service salad bar in the program. We're going to turn that to a full-service salad bar, but that is not going to happen until we first launch our virtual cafe. And Gretchen referenced it earlier. What that means is we are going to use the food technology that allows folks to order by 10 a.m. and have the food delivered in all different areas throughout the campus, so we could spread the folks out. Now, it doesn't build community, but it builds a safe environment for serving your food. And what's going to happen is all of our restaurants are still going to come into the cafe. They are going to set up their stations, so you have basically access to all the different restaurants, but it'll be ordered online and delivered to a specific area, and then you'll be notified by your app of when your food arrives at your particular location. It's a very forward-thinking idea. It's one of the forward-thinking ideas clients are utilizing, but I'm very excited to launch that at John Hancock. So from there, what are clients really looking for? And I feel I'll just be saying a lot of the same things that the folks have said already. But first and foremost is safety and morale is what folks are looking for when their people are coming back. So when we look from a safety standpoint, the one thing I'll state is the restaurant industry is one of the most highly regulated industries in the United States as it sits right now. So that's a good thing in COVID time, because all we're doing is enhancing all the regulations we already have in place that we've been providing over the years. And really what that means is really looking at alternative ways of serving food, minimizing touch points by having contactless service, whether it's done through technology or done through a delivery platform or what have you. Other critical part is alternative service models. And what that means is we look at, there's a lot of grab and go, and there's a lot of self-service programs right now in current cafeterias. Those programs have to be designed, at least for a short period of time, to be served models or an alternative model. So that's what we're looking at from there. Improve PPP, whether it's through stanchions or blockades or changing some of the sneeze guards in the space. We're doing all that in all of our different cafes. Most critically is cafe flow. Gretchen mentioned that there's an elevator that you come up at John Hancock. If everybody's coming up through that same elevator, no matter if you've done everything right in the cafe, you still have everyone congregating through the elevator and coming into the cafe. What we need to do is look at all the ingress and egress from the point of coming up to the cafe, going through the cafe, getting your food, making your purchase, and then most importantly is what happens when you get out into the dining space and making sure we have a program that fits that. So with that being said, I would mention really that there's so many alternative solutions to just a cafe. So we talked about the delivery solution. The one benefit of the model we built there is we're minimizing contact with associates because we're bringing the restaurants in and then we have the same exact runners each and every day in the space. So the runners are only the touch point to the associates, and you're not having all these different delivery companies like Seamless Web or DoorDash or what have you. You're opening the door for all these different contacts if you have those folks in there. So what we've designed is a program where it's only a single point of contact or a few numbers of contacts to bring the food to the people. One other solution we've had with clients is really timeline management. So if you do have a congested elevator shaft, what we've done is broken it down into day parts. So a specific group comes in at each specific time, whether it's 11:30, 12 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock, and based on your first initial of your last name is when your designated time is to come into the space. I will now, I'm sorry, the other critical part that we're hearing from clients is scalability, because these cafes were designed for full occupancy in your space. And at full occupancy, it costs a lot of money to operate the cafes. So what's happening is all of our clients are coming back in phases. You might have one group of 500 coming in 2 months, another group of 500 coming the month after, and so on and so on, and then slowly but surely integrated into a full populated cafe. So we're looking at alternative scalable solutions for each and every client. In particular with Fuda, we're benefited by the fact that we are nimble and flexible, so we have the capabilities of delivering a pop-up restaurant program, maybe enhanced with a micro market, then slowly growing to 2 pop-ups, to a resident operator, to a barista, and then to full program. So here's the critical part when we talk about morale with people is nobody is going to be excited to come back to the workplace if the only thing they have is a micro market program of vending foods in their space. So what we need to do is have the right food program for the right amount of people each and every day, and making sure we're not over-programmed, because at the end of the day, the folks paying for that are the clients if we have to drive up subsidy. And that has been an ongoing challenge in the cafeteria. You have cafeterias that have been going down a path for hundreds of years delivering a cafeteria program, and now you got to take the locomotive and shift it 90 degrees. That's very difficult to do. And what you have to do is you have to have folks who are willing to look at it differently, the way Gretchen did and her team with building this virtual cafe, and then slowly adding programming into her model as she feels that it's safe for her associates to eat there, as she feels morale needs more dining platforms and more things happening.
Steve, I just wanted to comment on one of the things you just brought up, if I may, and that is the concept of subsidy. I don't know if you meant to bring it up, but I interpreted something in what you said as in subsidy. And I just want to share with everybody that although employees pay for the food that in our marketplace, what we've done is designed a scaled pricing model where healthier foods are at a greater subsidy than your burger and fries, so to speak. And that's just really to promote and encourage healthy eating, but there's certainly no food shaming going on, for those folks that want a slice of pizza or a burger. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gretchen and Steve. That was great. And actually, Gretchen, you just touched on one of the questions in the Q&A, actually. So we may do a little follow-up on that as well. So Karen Bala, let's start to talk a little bit about going back to that last polling question, maybe some high and low tech technology enhancements that maybe you are seeing and or hearing requests from your client base, as well as any future thoughts you would like to leave us with before we start the Q&A.
Sure. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Steve, Gretchen, and Matt. Such great insights. This has been such a great panel to be part of. And it's such a great panel to just kind of share my crystal ball, whether it's broken or not. Sometimes I feel like it is broken, and sometimes I feel like it's fixed, and I just know like how the future is going to play out. But you guys have been such a great panel to kind of like vet some of those ideas. But before I share some of those thoughts with the wider group, I wanted to share 2 experiences that that I've been having, and they've been kind of my compass and kind of helping me navigate the future of work, and particularly this conversation of future of food at work. The first one that I wanted to share with you all is reserving a swim lane. And I know that sounds so off topic, but it's so on topic. Because if you're a swimmer like me, one of the pain points of swimming is that you're waiting on a cold pool deck, especially now in wintertime in the Northeast. So what my local pool has done is they have created reserving a lane online, very, very low tech and easy web portal. And it allows us to swim safely. It allows us to swim, have a lane, 45 minutes, you're in, you're out. It's a very seamless experience and it feels very safe. And then the second experience that I want to share with you all is this idea that has just recently come about late March. And it's this idea of purchasing fish. And I've been doing this quite a bit. Late March, a consortium fishermen partnered with local parking lots, underutilized parking lots. So now they have this whole network of parking lots where you could go pick up fresh fish. And again, very low, easy website they created. There's one button and it's like purchase fish. And it's, again, it's very easy, very seamless, very low tech. And you drive away and you get exactly what you need. You can swim, you reserve a lane, you can purchase fish, reserve fish, you bought it, it's gone. And so those are the two things that I've been thinking about as I've kind of been thinking about the future of work. And so the three takeaways I'd like to share with you all, and keeping those two experiences in suspension. One of them is this idea of just being intentional, right? Like Gretchen and Matt, they've both talked about just the intentions that they're having about their cafes. Like these are places where people collaborate. So as we kind of think through now the reasons why we're going back into the office, there are going to be many reasons, but whatever reasons they are, we're going to make social contracts with each other. Like if Sarah and I need to meet, we're going to ask better questions of each other. Do we really need to meet, Sarah? And what are we sharing? And do you need me to be there? Do we need to see each other? And so, and even this idea of reserving is full of intention. Me reserving a swim lane means I'm gonna go swim. Me reserving a flight to go, to get on an airplane, there's intention to take a trip. So I think the rest of our year or the beginning of 2021 and maybe 3 to 5 years from now, there's going to be some intentions. And if we say yes to these social contracts that we're making with each other, yes, Gretchen, I will see you soon. We're going to plan when to meet, where to meet, and we're going to start that before our commute. So the second thing that I'd like to add to that is this idea of, and I think Matt and Gretchen and Steve has already touched on it, this idea of technology, right? Technology is now going to be the thing that weaves and unites our day into this much more choreographed day. So the things that we're being intentional about is now needing to be choreographed, right? As much as Matt talked about this pickup food service app, as much as Steve and Gretchen has an app also, I would push them even further to think beyond even just that. Like think about like the moment I order food and the moment I say, I have a meeting at 11:30, right? I want to make sure that there's a table that's ready for me. I want to make sure there's 2 seats available for me. I want to make sure that there's power at that table. So, so Sarah and I, if we decide to meet at 11:30, that there's a table available to us. And so the third thing that I wanted to share, and Matt picked up on it earlier, was this idea of the super mixed retail. And before I delve into that, I want to go back to my purchase fish story, because one of the parking lots that I decided to pick my fish from, there was a Staples adjacent to this parking lot. Not only did I need dinner, but I needed cable for my 2 monitors. So these like 2 very bizarre things that I needed was part of one very efficient errand, right? And I think about that constantly. Like, how is it that it's so fortuitous to be able to get fish and like cabling all at the same time in one drive, in one errand? So I think about some of the underutilized spaces that we have, and Matt has touched upon it, is that if we look at these underutilized spaces, and these could be building amenities even, spaces and buildings that are underutilized, if we look at them and think about what are the potential for these spaces, what are the bizarre mixes of things that we could put together. Matt mentioned diapers. I would like challenge you and say hardware, right? I would love to, like cabling, hardware, like all of these things that you would need that would make your ride home much more successful. It's not only did I meet Sarah Ross for an 11:30 lunch, but I also got like hardware that I needed to like put up, some shelves for my office. So it's all of these like things that could be filled with opportunity. I think that's all that I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. So that brings us to the end of our discussion as far as all the panelists goes. So I am going to open it up for Q&A. And there are a couple of questions in the chat, or actually, sorry, in the Q&A. So again, if anyone has any other questions, please put those into the Q&A. So the first few questions, Matt, actually, I think are for you. So the first question is, who does Tripadvisor use as their food service provider?
Yeah, so we've partnered with Restaurant Associates, who is a piece of I think it's the Compass Group. And they will be handling all of everything to do with the food program, everything to do with the kiosks that will be in there, the touchless kiosks for the grab and go systems, as well as the ordering platform or ordering system. So for the employees, what we don't fully know, well, we'll wait for the second program or the second question.
So the second question actually is, what is the communication system for your pickup program?
Yeah, that one, being we've pushed out our return to work till the Q2 timeframe, I haven't dove deep into all of that. I think what I responded was that we're looking at ways to integrate it into our current internal communication system. We use Slack. Currently, right now, we communicate directly down to the chefs and to the Restaurant Associates team via Slack and our own food trip channel. And so there will hopefully be some way that we can integrate that. It may turn out to be an app, but we haven't finalized all of those details, as we've, in all honesty, been focusing on all of our time in reopening our APAC and our EMEA offices, knowing that HQ was not, and US offices were not going to be focused on until Q2 of this coming year in 2021.
Great, thank you, Matt. So Gretchen, I am gonna kick this question over to you, as you touched on it earlier, if you have anything else to add. So what pricing models are you using with your food service providers as you move into post-pandemic workplace, which may see significantly lower employee populations? Are you charging the customer more, subsidizing more, or asking the food service companies to be more flexible in their contract fees? So Gretchen, if you want to start, and then Matt, you may have a couple of thoughts yourself. So Gretchen?
Sure. There is no increase to offset that, and that's due in great part to the fact that our service model is scalable, which is one of the things that Steve and I touched on. So we can dial it back, and so as you know, we're not subsidizing an entire cafeteria, so that enables us to not be forced to raise any prices. And as I mentioned earlier, we have an allocation for subsidy that is focused on the healthy foods. But that being said, it's always under consideration, Sarah, from a budgeting standpoint. So, we always remain open to what is happening in both of our community that we're in the Back Bay, and also amongst our employee population. And Steve, maybe you can better answer that last part of the question regarding, what was the last part of the question, Sarah?
About being more flexible in the food service contracts, which is a very interesting
Right, see, I didn't want to open that one with you, Steve.
I'd be happy to answer that if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, please.
Thank you. Yeah, so in working with the John Hancock team, the way the FUTA model operates is we are only going to bring the number of restaurants necessary to serve the populations as they phase back in. The benefit of FUTA, and this is critical from a social distancing standpoint, is all of our food is prepared at the restaurant and then finished to order in the cafe. So we don't have to have chefs crossing paths in the kitchen. They have their own specific designated area and they go into those specific spaces. So when Gretchen says we're bringing back 500 people at this moment in time, then FUTA is going to say, okay, we could pop up 2 restaurants into the cafeteria space and that'll be part of the virtual cafe. We could also accent it with our other delivery service throughout the Boston marketplace. When she says we're going up to 1,000 people, then we add 2 more restaurants. So we have 4 restaurants. This is part of the scalability and flexibility of the model. When they get up to 2,000 people, we're able to add the whole cafe program and so on and so forth until you have the all-encompassing dining program happening. That's what I mean by nimble and flexible. We don't pass these costs onto our clients. We just manage the process as best as we possibly can to keep it at a cost-neutral basis.
And from the Tripadvisor side, I think we're the opposite, right? Because our kitchen is all internal. We would bring back a full staff to provide the food. But what we are doing is we're looking at, again, this kind of grab and go option. So there'll be some preset, sandwiches and salads that will be made, and we'll make them based on the number of people we think are coming back. And as that number continues to trend higher, we will slowly increase the count of those items that are available. The other side of it is, we used to do stuff like we have a smoker on site. We have a pizza oven on site. We have a pasta maker for fresh pasta. We may not initiate some of those systems and probably won't right at the start, just because of the unknown of how many people. So I think as we continue to understand more people coming back, more people having the confidence of being in the office, right? Like a lot of people may show up for an 8 to 10 o'clock meeting and want to go home to their kids. We're not fully sure yet. So we're going to look at using food product that can similar, almost like salad bar kind of, and I don't know exactly how to word this, but food that could be, put back in the refrigerator and redeployed into another style meal, into a stew the next day, or something that doesn't, have a shelf life of 1 day or a couple hours. I don't see a lot of mussels coming back or big fish meals anymore, like we used to. But maybe there will be considerably smaller versions of that. So yeah, the scalability is something that we're thinking about, but just in a different fashion than Gretchen and Steve are there. So.
Thank you, Matt. So I think we're going to have time to take 2 more questions, except we're going to go a little bit out of order. I'm going to do 1 question now, and then we had some technical difficulties in the beginning of the program, and so we are going to show a quick Crave video before we take the last question. So I am going to flip this second to last question to Karen, and then we'll do the Crave video, and then we'll take 1 more question. So this is great. So Karen, do you see leveraging the FUTA type models or food work models of the world resulting in downsizing of square footages of large cafeterias? So essentially, is this model replacing the traditional model for future and not, say, a Band-Aid for the pandemic? Your crystal ball.
Unmute. I've been thinking a lot about that, and again, if I'm going to shake my crystal ball really, really hard, but I just feel like these spaces could actually double as our main office, to be honest. It has everything that where the workstations are all now, right? And the conference rooms. It has all of the things that we're talking about that we want in our future office. Again, it's all of that sort of intentionality piece, right? We want to meet, we want to collaborate, we want to have a meal together. And I feel like if there is a space that will not be reduced, I think it's these enterprise cafes. If anything, they're so potent. It's timing and it's the scalability that Fuda is talking about of bringing people back in. But I would even say I would put in traffic sensors to really understand how people are moving through and what time people are moving through, to really understand the landscape of this space. But I don't see the cafes being reduced as much as I see where the actual heads down work gets done.
Thank you, Karen. And actually, I'm going to switch it up one more time before we finish. We're going to take the last question and then we're going to do the video. So I'm going to pose this to the panel at large, and whoever would like to start, you can please start. So this last question, which I think is a great question, with more employees working remotely in the future, is anyone thinking about a food program that extends to the remote workers? Who is bold enough to take that question on? Matt, you are shaking your head.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting concept. I'm shaking my head because I know we've leveraged our vendors to help our staff at home from the perspective of, pushing discounts for, say, sit-stand workstations, right? And all the different things, chairs and lighting. I think the food aspect is interesting. I can't say that I've ever heard of the thought, but I think it's something that as a company, you still want to, just because we're from home, the companies should still want to promote, you would think, the healthy lifestyle and the healthy living of their employees. I'm inspired by the question. I don't know that I can answer that. I think it would be a great idea, and it would definitely take a little bit of workload off of my shoulders per se, and or my wife's, because we tag team lunches and all that kind of stuff. But I'm more inspired than can answer. So thank you for that, I guess.
Which is actually great, because if you, I no pun intended here, but it's good food for thought, obviously, to leave all of us with. So Denise, I think you had a couple maybe parting comments, and then if everyone could stay on to watch the video, that'd be great. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, I wanted to start by thanking our fabulous panelists and Sarah for her great moderation and sharing all your insights on food service. And to our audience, thank you for joining us. And as Sarah said, please stand by for our Crave video, but also we will be sending our usual event survey out to everyone. If you please could take a few minutes to give us your feedback. It's so important for us to continue delivering high quality events in the future. So thanks again to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Crave was conceived as a way to deliver our strong educational mission and our membership's desire for their continued learning. Through the Crave series, our chapter will deliver webinars and virtual meetings to deliver timely and relevant topics that are affecting our industry today.
It's about the effort that we expend to connect with people. But you have an opportunity to see people, you have an opportunity to chat with people. We may not have an opportunity to have appetizers and share a drink with each other, but we stay connected, and that's really the most important thing.
Being able to work together and learn together in a new format, a new environment, really helped us take those pre-existing relationships and friendships that I had to another level.
CoreNet has taken the leadership in these kinds of conversations for years and years. And so we're delighted to have this long-term relationship with Cornet.
I found the Cornet to be a great community of dedicated real estate professionals. And what it means to me is it gives me a wider network of people with whom to share ideas, to derive the best learnings, to test and experiment with things that I'm working on.
This program is all about personal growth and becoming the leader that you want to be.
Cornet has always led the way when it comes to supporting the professional development of our members. Our roundtable discussions, our education workshops, and our professional development programs are just part of what makes Cornet so valuable to our members. It was critical for us to find a way to still be able to facilitate all of this. Crave has provided us the platform to be just as effective and to still provide that value to our members in a virtual environment.
Cornet not only provides a platform for different groups to come together regardless where you come from in terms of organization, but really help each member to feel like they belong in this organization.
We have a diverse membership base, and you will find that members come from all walks of life and from all over the world. However, it's still an area of focus for us to improve upon and to embrace equity, inclusion, and diversity through increasing awareness and taking action, as we know this will lead to more success for the organization and for our members.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.